that to happen. Oral questions. Questions orales. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Only two types of people, those who are Irish and those who wish they were, Mr. Speaker.
The Prime Minister flip-flopped 4 times on Iran, Mr. Speaker. But here, these flip-flops are even worse. The Liberal government is denying a report from Global News that says that there are 700 agents of the Iranian regime that are here in Canada. Yesterday, they admitted that 239 of them have had their visas withdrawn, but only 1 has been removed. So there are about 238 regime agents here in Canada. And when we see terrorist attacks against synagogues and elsewhere, we wonder, will the Prime Minister flip-flop again, or will he explain to us how many agents of the Iranian government are here threatening Canadians? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This is a very serious situation. The government has already prevented 10,000 Revolutionary Guard members from this country. There are 170 investigations underway, and as the Minister of Public Safety just said, there are 28 that are currently being reviewed intensively.
The Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister had 4 flip-flops on Iran in just the same number of days. This is a pattern. He's also flip-flopped on oil and gas. He wrote a book called Values, in which he said he wanted to keep 50% of our energy in the ground. He said in that book he wanted to raise carbon taxes. And then he claimed that he had flip-flopped on that, while he's since kept in place every anti-development law that Trudeau passed. He has renamed the carbon tax, and he's brought in an industrial carbon tax that has driven away an $8 billion project. So will he flip-flop again, reverse these Liberal policies so that we can actually supply the world with the energy it needs in this critical time?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I appreciate receiving this gift on this day honoring Ireland. Canada is increased at record levels our oil exports. Canada has approved under this government Silicim. Canada has approved and started one of the biggest LNG. Canada is working to the lowest carbon LNG and the lowest carbon oil exports in the world. We will maintain and increase our competitive position. We're driving straight forward.
Hear, hear. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Speaker, he's driving in circles. He said that he did not want, he wanted to keep 50% of our oil in the ground. He supported blocking the pipeline to the Pacific. He's not approved a single oil pipeline, and his major projects office has not approved a project of any kind. He's just tried to take credit for a project approved by Prime Minister Harper. Next, he'll be trying to claim credit for the Canadian Pacific Railway. So will the Prime Minister flip-flop again? Reverse his support of an industrial carbon tax, the Liberal anti-development laws, and get out of the way so that we can build pipelines to the Pacific, power paychecks for our people.
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, as I said in my book, as it is the policy of this government, we want the lowest risk, the lowest carbon, the lowest cost oil and gas, and that's what makes ours competitive. That's the story of Canadian LNG. That's the story of the MOU with Alberta. That is the story of Bay du Nord. That is how you drive the country forward, not off a cliff like the member opposite.
I'm hearing a little too much of the member for Vernon Lake Country, Monash. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, the world cannot put meaningless pieces of paper and meaningless MOUs in their gas tanks. They need real energy that comes out of our ground. The Prime Minister said he wants to keep it in the ground. And yet today we had the hilarious spectacle of the Liberal Natural Resource Minister saying Canada will do what it can to help with its stockpiles for the current energy shortage. Our stockpiles are zero, Mr. Speaker. So will the Prime Minister flip-flop again, adopt my policy that we should have a strategic oil and mineral reserve so that we can supply the world in the future?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, there's many policies of the member opposite I will not adopt. One of them is flip-flopping, jumping around, searching for ridings every election. The second thing I will not adopt is the importance of having the most competitive oil and gas in the world. Our oil exports have never been higher under this government, over 5 million barrels per day, and they will increase because they will be low carbon, low cost, low risk.
Hear, hear.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, sometimes he makes it too easy. Today we have zero oil stockpiles. We have a strategic maple syrup stockpile, Mr. Speaker, which the Prime Minister could use to put maple syrup on the pancakes that he flip-flops on. But, Mr. Speaker, we don't have any oil to supply to the world in the time of this crisis. Will he reverse the anti-development policies that he has supported that has come from the previous Liberal government in order to unlock our production, power the world, and the paychecks here at home?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, this is the way the G7 oil reserve works. If you're an importer, you have to have an oil reserve. If you're an exporter, which Canada is under this government, if you have record exports, which Canada is under this government, that is how you supply the world. I salute the work of the Minister of Natural Resource and the Minister of Finance, working with G7 counterparts, confirmed with my G7 leader counterparts today to release 400 million barrels from that strategic reserve to Canada.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
To release 400 million barrels of oil from that strategic stockpile, how many of those are coming from Canada? Exactly zero. And the Prime Minister's excuse, the reason why we have no stockpiles, he says, is because we're a producer of oil. This is exactly the opposite of logic. The United States is a producer of oil. They have stockpiles. We have reserves, which the Prime Minister is successfully keeping in the ground. Just last week, we saw an $8 billion project canceled under his watch. We're importing gas from Australia. Why won't he get out of the way so we can produce our own energy?
Mr. Speaker, the member opposite thinks he's on a rich vein, but he's tapping a dry well. Under this government, production has never been so high. Exports have never been so high. We approve Bay du Nord. We are working with the province of Alberta to produce the lowest cost, lowest carbon oil and gas. We are expanding our exports. We are expanding our future.
Hear, hear.
The Honourable Member for Saint-Jean. Mr. Speaker, 85,000 seniors have been unable to access their old age security benefits since the new CURAM computer system was implemented. And Federal Government Employees Union is already referring to it as the new Phoenix. The cost overruns for the CURAM install are already close to $3 billion. This is 10 times more than SACLIC in Quebec, which caused a real scandal. And when we raise these issues, the minister accuses us of scaremongering. Is the Prime Minister taking the CURAM fiasco more seriously than his minister? And will he launch a commission of inquiry? The Honourable Prime Minister. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It is the responsibility of Service Canada, and the facts are as follows. 7.7 million people who are having no problems with the software. It's working. There is a decrease of 10,000 people over the last week of these backlogs that have been addressed, therefore. There are problems, but it is the responsibility of Service Canada to help these people. The Honourable Member for Saint-Jean. Mr. Speaker, CURAM is a financial fiasco, but also for thousands of seniors for which it is a human tragedy, for whom it is a human tragedy. We have people who are going into debt to pay for their groceries, their rent, their bills, and the government continues to defend its decision to replace an outdated system with one that just doesn't work. Worry and anxiety is what thousands of seniors have been feeling since CURAM was implemented. Will this government, and particularly the Prime Minister, take this situation seriously and be accountable for it? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, we take this situation and all situations seriously because we are in government. The words do not equate to facts. It is not a financial fiasco. There is a budget. The CURAM software follows the budget. Thank you. The Honourable Member for Abitibi-Témiscamingue. Mr. Speaker, quite a banker. $5 billion in cost overruns on top of the human cost for our seniors. It was supposed to cost $1.5 billion, and it's not over yet. We know because it's always more of the same. The costs keep climbing. There are private firms and consultants who must be laughing all the way to the bank, counting their piles of cash, as if this government didn't have an obligation to manage public funds properly, as if no one were accountable. I'd like to hear from the Prime Minister, when will there be an independent public inquiry into the CURAM fiasco? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, it's curious. The government has already offered a briefing on this to the Bloc. No response from them. They haven't responded to the offer of a briefing. There have been discussions in committees. Yes, it's quite interesting, isn't it? So it's a good idea to have a discussion prior to an investigation or an inquiry.
Honourable Member for
years, the Liberals have known that there are hundreds of Iranian regime officials here in Canada. 239 had their visas cancelled, and yet we just learned that the government managed to remove exactly one of those. Their excuse? They might claim asylum. There are no flights to Iran. We must protect their privacy. Meanwhile, an Iranian-Canadian critic of the regime has gone missing, and police are now investigating that as a homicide. Why are the Liberals protecting terrorists, and when will the minister finally have them removed? Good.
Honourable Minister of Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, let's be very clear. Those who are senior members of the IRGC will be removed, Mr. Speaker. As we speak right now, there's 28 individuals who are facing removal. We're going through due process, and they will be removed, Mr. Speaker. But let's also be very clear that if the party opposite wants more information, the leader of the opposition can go get a security check, and we'll be more than glad to provide the requisite information for them to be accurate in their analysis, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Thornhill.
Mr. Speaker, the minister knows there are 700 IRGC agents in this country, and those are just the ones we know about. The minister knows that dissidents are being threatened. He knows that activist businesses are being shot out, and he knows that intimidation is happening under his watch. And yet, after 3.5 years, the Liberals have deported exactly one of those terrorists. So will the minister commit to returning to this House within 1 week with a plan to expel more than just one activist, regime activist?
Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the Canada Border Service Agency is working diligently to ensure the safety and security of Canadians, including the removal of 28. Those are going through the process of being removed, Mr. Speaker. Canada has identified the IRGC as a listed terrorist entity under Canadian law. We have listed Iran as a state sponsor of terrorism. We will continue to ensure the security of Canadians by removing those who are inadmissible, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Calgary Nose Hill.
Mahdi Naziri ran the Iranian regime's hardline propaganda newspaper and held other very senior positions within the Iranian regime. Yet the Liberals let him enter Canada on a visitor visa, and then they let him stay here. Earlier today, the minister claimed that Global News' reporting was false and that there aren't 700 Iranian agents in Canada. So I'll ask the minister to be clear. How many senior Iranian officials like Mahdi Naziri are in Canada?
The Honourable Minister of Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, there are 28 current ongoing investigations that are going through our legal system, and they are deemed to be senior members of the IRGC. Canada Border Service Agency is taking diligent effort to have them removed. But let's also be clear, we need to work with facts, Mr. Speaker. 700 IRGC members is not facts. It is contrived by the Conservative Party. But I will more than glad to offer a briefing to the Leader of the Opposition if he gets a security clearance, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Calgary Knowles Hill.
The reality is that number was reported by a credible Canadian news outlet. The minister won't answer how many are here, and there's a loophole. There is a loophole in the law that allows senior propagandists, senior officials of the Iranian regime, like Maddie Naziri, to stay in Canada. And the Liberals are just letting this happen. They're letting the IRB say, yep, senior propagandists, Iranian officials who subjugate women stay in Canada. The law needs to change. Will the minister agree to our common sense Conservative proposal to table within a week a plan to review these loopholes and ensure that officials are deported?
The Honourable Minister of Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, there are some important pieces of legislation that are now going through the House for which the opposition has been filibustering and obstructing, Mr. Speaker. What we need right now is to be able to work together to ensure the safety and security of Canadians. The Canada Border Service Agency is working diligently on the removal of 28 individuals who are believed to be members of the IRGC. They will continue to investigate other credible information that goes to them, and we will continue to ensure the safety and security of Canadians.
Honourable member for Kamloops, Thompson Nicola.
Mr. Speaker, Canadians have compassion over world events, and sometimes those world events spill onto Canadian streets. Such is the case with the situation in Iran. 3 synagogues in Toronto shot up within the last few days. 1 Iranian dissident kidnapped, and it's now a homicide investigation. Only 1 Iranian regime official has been deported. So the question is this: will the Liberals agree to table a plan within the next week to show Canadians how they will deal with this Iranian issue so Canadians can walk their streets safely?
Honourable Minister of Justice.
Mr. Speaker, my honourable colleague raised a number of issues in his question. One is the reality that many communities are facing when it comes to violence committed against their community of faith. We are all aghast at the horrors of the shooting that's taken place against synagogues in Canada over the last number of weeks, but it's important that we take action to actually provide solace to the communities who are facing such serious public safety threats. This includes funding to help protect the institutions where people practice their faith and pray, but it also includes legislative efforts that will more severely punish hate crimes in this country, including hate crimes committed against communities of faith. Members of this House have an opportunity to support the Combating Hate Act to help provide such protection to communities. I hope we can count on their support.
The honourable member for Charlebourg, Haute-Saint-Charles. Mr. Speaker, the Liberals have known for years that there are Iranian regime agents that are here in Canada. Yet this week we learned that they've deported only 1 of the 230 cancelled visa holders. And representatives of the Liberal government told the Standing Committee on Immigration they couldn't remove Iranian regime officials because they were allowed to apply for asylum and that their privacy had to be protected. Well, what is the plan to deport these scoundrels from our country? The Honourable Government House Leader. Mr. Speaker, the Minister of Public Safety just expressed exactly what is being done to remove these individuals who are suspected of these actions. I would urge the colleague to support our Bill C9, which is before the House in our election platform. If I'm not mistaken, also in theirs, we committed to protecting communities of faith, temples, synagogues, mosques in Canada. Legislation is before this House. Will the member opposite and his colleagues vote in favour of this very electoral commitment they have? The member for Charlebourg, Haute-Saint-Charles. What we've heard from the Minister of Public Safety is very little compared to what he actually needs to get done. But today we submitted some clear plans to the government. We're asking for the government to urgently or enforce deportation orders against Iranian regime agents, assess the level of terrorist threat in Canada. It hasn't been changed since 2014. Stop approving any asylum applications without a face-to-face interview. Will the government table a plan in the next 7 days to take action against this Iranian regime here in Canada? Yes or no? Mr. Speaker, the government has designated that segment of the Iranian community as a terrorist entity. The Minister of Public Safety is taking serious measures to respond to the situation underway. But I repeat my question to the honourable colleague. He committed, like I did, like all of us, to protecting communities of faith in Canada, community centres, Jewish businesses and Muslim businesses, the temples, synagogues. Mr. Speaker, will the member and his colleagues answer yes, say yes to these communities? The honourable member from Mirabel. Mr. Speaker, the people of Terrebonne are concerned about expropriations related to the high-speed rail project, and they're right. Because in Bill C-15, the Liberals weakened the Expropriation Act specifically to limit the rights of landowners along the train route. The mayor of Terrebonne is demanding real public consultations. The Lanaudière UPA fears that our best farmland will be split in two and then abandoned. Everyone's concerned. Why are the Liberals facilitating expropriations and treating Terrebonne residents like second-class citizens instead of working to gain social license? The Honourable Minister of Transport. Mr. Speaker, the high-speed rail project is dream-worthy. It is a dream for residents in Terrebonne. It's dream-worthy for entire communities through Quebec and Ontario. We're going to be able to radically change things for the people in these regions. 40% of Canadians, including in Terrebonne, are for it. We will be respecting standards and ensuring social acceptability or license for sure, but we will certainly be moving forward with the high-speed rail in Canada. The honourable member for Mirabel. Mr. Speaker, while the minister is dreaming over there to try to reassure people of Terrebonne, it's the CEO of Alto has confirmed to the media that there will be expropriations. It's not reassuring in the least. And he hopes, the CEO hopes, that it won't be their main tool, the expropriation that is. In other words, they'll make offers to Terrebonne residents along the route, and if they're not happy, Alto will use the tools provided by the Liberals under Bill C-15 to expropriate them. That's not agreement by mutual consent. Why don't the Liberals include Terrebonne residents in the project instead of threatening them? Mr. Speaker, the residents of Terrebonne, Quebecers, Ontarians, and Canadians all are dreaming of this technology. We will be doing this appropriately. We will consult landowners, consult with mayors, representatives, agricultural groups. We will do this with respect for all of these groups, and we will arrive at something that is high-end technology, that is the pride of Canada, that will change things for our communities. That is what high-speed rail is about, Mr. Speaker.
For York Centre.
Last week, 3 synagogues were shot at in Toronto. The war abroad is spilling onto our streets, while hundreds of Iranian agents are operating in Canada. Conservatives are calling on Liberals to table a plan within a week to enforce deportation of Iranian officials, to disrupt Iranian efforts to launder money, and reevaluate Canada's terrorism threat level. Will the Liberals stop the Iranian regime here at home, or will Canada remain a playground for the Revolutionary Guard?
Hear, hear. The Honourable Minister of Justice.
Mr. Speaker, again, my colleague, like one of the previous questioners, raised the very real challenge of communities that are facing hate crimes, including synagogues that are being shot up in this country. We have efforts to intimidate and obstruct people from practicing their faith, not just at synagogues, but at temples, at mosques, at our churches. We need to do more to ensure that people can live freely, not just enjoy rights that are written on paper, that are actually enjoyed in communities. This includes adopting new laws that will criminalize certain behaviors that target people on the basis of their faith. We have an opportunity to support the Combating Hate Act to deliver this outcome now for Canadians. I hope that Conservative members will join us.
The Honourable Member for York Centre.
Speaker, shooting at synagogues is already illegal. Just like the Prime Minister, the Justice Minister is all talk, no action. Now an Iranian dissident is missing and police fear that he's murdered. Meanwhile, Canadians actually recognize an Iranian official at the gym. Conservatives are asking Liberals to table a plan within a week to reevaluate Canada's terrorism threat level, to identify gaps in our national security, and rid our country of IRGC. When will this Liberal government start protecting Canadians and finally deport those that are connected to the Iranian regime?
Hear, hear. The Honourable Minister of Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, our security threat levels are assessed by our agencies, our law enforcement agencies, including the RCMP and CSIS. It is not politicians who assess those threats, Mr. Speaker, and that is a very good thing. But let me also say that Canada Border Service Agency is taking every effort on the removal of those who are inadmissible to Canada, who are members of the IRGC. There's 28 of them that are now going through the process. We will ensure the safety and security of Canadians, Mr. Speaker, and we will ensure that those who are inadmissible to Canada will be removed.
Member for Richmond Hill South.
Never have foreign conflicts spilled onto our streets the way that they have under this Liberal government. 3 separate synagogues were shot at in a week in the GTA. An Iranian dissident in BC has gone missing, and police are investigating it as a homicide. An Iranian dissident in Thornhill had his boxing gym shot up 17 times the day after organizing a rally in Richmond Hill. Canadians are watching violence and intimidation spread in their own communities while the Liberals sit back and do nothing. Will this Liberal government table a plan to take action against the Iranian regime operating here at home so that Canadians can feel safe on our own streets?
The Honourable Minister of Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, I've had the opportunity to visit 2 of the synagogues that were attacked last week, Mr. Speaker, and it is deeply heartbreaking to see that their sense of security has been breached. As a government, we're taking decisive action, including $10 million that was just announced to ensure the coordination of security efforts in places of worship as well as other community centers within the Jewish community. But that's not enough, Mr. Speaker. We also have legislation in front of the House, which is C9, which the Jewish community has been asking for us to pass, and I urge the party opposite to pass it forthwith.
The Honourable Member for Richmond Hill South.
Mr. Speaker, Canadians don't need more photo ops, they need results. This week we learned the Liberals have only removed 1 IRGC official after nearly 4 years. At the House Immigration Committee, Liberal officials said that they couldn't deport them because there were no flights to Iran and because they needed to protect their privacy. Conservatives are calling for the enforcement of deportation orders for Iranian regime officials, close loopholes which allow human rights abusers to be admitted, and crack down on the regime money laundering in Canada. I'm going to ask again, when will this Liberal government implement the Foreign Influence Registry, stop rubber stamping refugee claims without in-person interviews, and finally deport the regime agents terrorizing our community?
The Honourable Minister of Justice.
Mr. Speaker, as has been litigated during the debate in this chamber already today, the IRGC has been listed, and that carries with it certain consequences about the inadmissibility of certain individuals. Their files are reviewed, and people who are not allowed to remain in Canada will in fact be removed. The concern underlying the questions in the House of Commons today, though, have to do with the safety of Canadians, including the safety of Jewish Canadians to practice their faith freely during a context where synagogues are being shot up. There is a piece of legislation, the Combating Hate Act, Bill C9, that has been before this House. We have an opportunity to offer protection that communities are asking for. It is a shame that the party opposite will not listen to Jewish Canadians and do what they're asking.
The Honourable Member for Windsor West.
Mr. Speaker, Canada's sovereignty is not negotiable, but foreign conflicts are spilling onto our streets. 3 synagogues have been shot up this past week. An Iranian dissident has disappeared and police think he may have been killed. But the Liberals are patting themselves on the back because they removed 1 Iranian official linked to the IRGC. There's hundreds more on our streets. The number 1 job of any government is to protect its citizens. They're not doing that. Will this Liberal government table a plan within 1 week to deal with the Iranian agents in our country, on our streets? It's about time they did that.
The Honourable Secretary of State for Combating Crime.
Mr. Speaker, we do have a plan. That is why we listed the IRGC as a terrorist entity. This provides our law enforcement and CBSA with the tools to hold people inadmissible in our country and then remove them. CBSA is working through the files, and they are removing those with links to the IRGC, Mr. Speaker. This is a plan. Along with that, we are protecting our institutions. We just made an announcement for $10 million extra today to make sure that our religious communities are safe.
Honourable Member for Nunavut.
I am proud to join a team that will take the larger picture of meeting the current political environment and is set on meeting the immediate needs of the North. Northerners know that food security is about more getting foods on the shelves. It is about addressing the cost of living, local capacity, and true food sovereignty.
Hear, hear.
Can my colleague, the Minister of Northern and Arctic Affairs, tell this House how our government is moving toward beyond food subsidies and creating a food economy for those that call the North home?
Honourable Minister of Northern and Arctic Affairs.
Mr. Speaker, let me start by welcoming the member of Nunavut to this side of the House. And I also want to acknowledge her strong advocacy for the North, and we know that a subsidy alone will not solve the food insecurity issue in the North. That's why we're looking at moving from a food subsidy to a food economy in the North. And this year alone, we have $200 million that is supporting the evolution of Nutrition North. We're concluding regional engagements at the end of the month with a Food Sovereignty Summit. So I look forward to working with my colleague.
The Honourable Member for Newmarket Aurora.
Countless seniors in Newmarket Aurora come up and tell me that they've had to leave retirement and find jobs because they're struggling to eat, heat, and afford a roof over their head. And this reality is backed up by data. A new survey from the National Institute on Aging revealed that 1 in 5 Canadians over the age of 50 are living near the poverty line and cannot even cover a $500 emergency. So when will the Prime Minister stop punishing seniors and scrap inflationary Liberal taxes that are making life so unaffordable?
You're here.
The Honourable Minister of Energy and Natural Resources.
Mr. Speaker, this is what Canadians understand. There's a major international war raging. Canadians understand that our allies' supply of energy and their national security are being threatened. Canadians also understand that our actions are limiting those shortages and reducing the impact on prices. Oil production is at an all-time high. Natural gas pipelines are full. Exports on the TMX pipeline are up 100% in the last year. Our LNG facility, the second largest in the world, is now shipping at capacity.
The Honourable Member for Newmarket Aurora.
Respect to the member, during all my studies and over 15 years working in finance, there's one basic economic truth that always held. When costs go up, prices go up. When competition is fierce, prices come down. Yet during this food affordability crisis, the Liberals are inhibiting competition, all while piling on taxes and regulation on those who grow, ship, and sell our food. So when will this Prime Minister finally apply this basic economic fundamental, cut taxes and regulations so Canadians can get real relief at the grocery aisle?
The Honourable Minister.
What Canadians understand is when they have good-paying jobs, they can afford things. We are building LNG Canada. We are building Cedar LNG.
Yeah, there should not be anyone standing on this side. There should not be anyone standing. Only the Minister should be standing responding. The Honourable Minister from the top, please.
Mr. Speaker, through the Major Projects Office, we are giving Canadians good-paying jobs. We are helping them afford the groceries they need, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Chatham-Kent.
Our farmers and fishermen are being punished with unreliable fertilizer supplies and a rising fuel tax to 17 cents that's driving up the cost of everything. Instead of supporting them, the Liberals have shuttered agricultural research stations and fueled the G7's worst food inflation. It's outrageous that while he plays economist, 1 in 5 Canadians over 50 is now trapped in poverty, choosing between eating and heating. When will this Liberal Prime Minister accept responsibility for what he can control, scrap the Liberal taxes and policies that are making life unaffordable for Canadians?
Honourable Minister of the Environment and Climate Change.
Mr. Speaker, let me say it once again. Studies show that the impact of the industrial carbon price on the price of food is Zero. But if we want to talk about how we're supporting Canadians and Canadian food security, the member from Chatham-Kent Leamington might be interested in what we're doing to support greenhouse production. It's a big thing in his area, helping farmers in his areas. We're supporting greenhouse farmers with investments and tax incentives to increase capacity and production. That will help Canadian food security. And if you want to talk about taxes, the first thing that this government did, we cut them.
Excellent. The honourable member for Chatham-Kent.
Mr. Speaker, let me tell you what 15 national ag organizations wrote to the committee. They wrote and said that closing ag research centres will undermine research that they say is fundamental to keeping food affordable. At the same time, the Liberal government is pushing ahead with their fuel tax, which is rising from 7 to 17 cents per litre, while also raising the carbon taxes on steel, aluminum, plastic and farm equipment. All of these Liberal decisions have a direct impact on Canada's ag sector, causing production costs to rise, which get passed on to Canadians at the grocery store. These costs are imposed at home, not abroad. When will these Liberals stop driving up food prices for Canadians?
The Honourable Minister of Agriculture and Agri-Food.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we can't continue down the path. We must change our direction and relevance to research, Mr. Speaker. Let me quote some of the numbers, Mr. Speaker, over the past few years. The research and development system is becoming less diverse. Public investment in agriculture knowledge generation, which includes R&D, has declined by 15%. Private sector outsourced R&D to universities is down 77%. And the number of enterprises conducting research and development has shrunk by 30%. If the other side want to continue down this path, it will put us at an unfair advantage politically, economically, and universally. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Cambridge.
Mr. Speaker, a community member wrote to me about what they are seeing every day. Frail seniors standing outside grocery stores begging for help. Canadians lining up at food banks after a lifetime of work. The National Institute on Aging states 1 in 5 Canadians over 50 are now living at the poverty line. Many cannot afford groceries, heating their homes, essential goods and services, or even a $500 emergency. Rising costs are not driven by events abroad. They are the result of policies imposed here, at home, that continue to make life more expensive. Are the Liberals really telling Canadian families and seniors that they should just lower their standards and accept that life is permanently unaffordable?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Seniors.
Mr. Speaker, Canadians elected a government that they know they can rely on to support the social fabric of this country, including supporting our seniors. That's why we introduced legislation to reduce taxes for nearly 22 million Canadians. We made the National School Food Program permanent. We launched the Canada Disability Benefit. We ensured that old age security would continue for those who are 65. And let me tell you what seniors like Dava Houston are saying. I'm seeing a lot of talk from the Conservatives about the grocery rebate helping no one. As a senior, I disagree. This benefit is specifically targeted to help those of us on fixed incomes.
The honourable member for Hastings, Lennox and Addington, Tyendinaga.
1 in 5 seniors can't afford necessities like food and housing. Women, renters, and seniors with health challenges are being hit the hardest, living at conditions comparable to the poverty line, Mr. Speaker. This Liberal government often blames global pressures when the fact is Canada has the worst food price inflation in the G7. Their Prime Minister's rebranded carbon tax, now increasing to 17 cents a litre, is a policy entirely within his control. Will the Prime Minister take responsibility, scrap the tax and cut regulations that are driving up the food prices and start making life more affordable for Canadians that are struggling?
The Honourable Minister of Jobs and Families.
Speaker, just yesterday I heard a Conservative member of Parliament say that helping people was ideological. So maybe they should get together and talk to each other. Because if you think that helping people fix their teeth is ideological, or feeding a hungry kid at school is ideological, or cutting taxes is ideological, or having childcare that costs people $16,000 less a year is ideological, then I actually think you're out to lunch.
Speaker, are out to lunch.
Certainly not
You're
me.
out to lunch.
Certainly not. The member didn't mean me.
Buckley might be out to lunch, but not the Speaker.
The honourable member for Richmond Centre, Marlpole.
Mr. Speaker, what happens abroad may be beyond our control, but the Liberal policies making life more expensive are not. Our seniors are paying the price. Seniors being forced to work with retirement slipping further out of reach. The National Institute on Aging reports that 1 in 5 Canadians over 50 is now living on the poverty line. Yet the Liberals are making it worse by sneaking in carbon taxes that drive up the price of essentials. When will the Prime Minister take responsibility for what he can control and scrap the Liberal policies that are making life unaffordable for Canadians, including seniors?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
The member talks about seniors who are struggling in his community. They're struggling in my community too. We have to acknowledge that. At the same time, what do we do to help those seniors? We put forward a serious plan for the future, an opportunities agenda that is focused on getting our resources to market, building up the infrastructure to do it. That's how you build an opportunities agenda, as I say, that has purchasing power attached to it because it leads to jobs. We talk about the programs, pensions that they want to cut, by the way. All of that relies on a strong economy. That's exactly what this government is focused on delivering.
The Honourable Member for Bellechasse-Chemin-Lévis. Mr. Speaker, according to the National Institute on Aging, 1 in 5 Canadians over 50 is now living in conditions comparable to the poverty line. Meanwhile, the Prime Minister is pursuing his fuel regulations. The cost is going from 7 to 17 cents. When will the Prime Minister finally step up, stop denying reality, and get rid of these taxes that are making Canadians and Quebecers poorer? The Honourable Minister of Climate Change and the Environment. Mr. Speaker, once again, I must say very clearly that studies show that the industrial carbon tax does not cause food prices to go up. The impact is zero. Let me be very clear for everyone who's listening. But what we are doing is that we are investing in farmers throughout the country to ensure that we have good food for everyone in the country. The Honourable Member. Zero? Mr. Speaker, is actually their grade. Canada has the worst food inflation in the G7, and the government keeps ratcheting up the industrial carbon tax on steel, aluminum, plastics, and agricultural equipment, which is making costs go up throughout the supply chain. When will the government finally get rid of these taxes on food so that Canadians can finally have a more affordable lifestyle? The Honourable Secretary of State. Well, I don't think our score is zero, Mr. Speaker. All that we've done since we were elected was to give more purchasing power to Canadians, especially seniors. Once again, the Canada Child Benefit, yes, that's not for seniors, but it does represent significant gain in purchasing power. And more recently, the groceries benefit will give people more purchasing power to help them face the current global situation, as everyone knows. The Honourable Member for Mont-Saint-Bruno-L'Acadie. Mr. Speaker, our government is working hard to help all Canadians find a place to live. Recently, a project for seniors opened in Drummondville. Can the Minister tell the House how this project will help seniors? The Honourable Minister of Housing and Infrastructure. Thank you for the question. The Drummondville project is a real milestone for affordable housing for seniors, with 100 units now open. The new building is part of our efforts to make housing more accessible. It represents concrete progress to meet the needs of seniors in the region. And I would encourage all of my colleagues to support the Build Canada Homes Act to give us more tools.
The Honourable Member for Riding Mountain.
Mr. Speaker, a peer-reviewed study published yesterday in a world-leading scientific journal found that closing a supervised drug consumption site led to no increase in deaths and no increase in emergency room visits. In fact, after the drug site closed, users were more likely to access life-saving addiction treatment. Every single drug consumption site in Canada exists only because the health minister approved them under federal law. The minister claims to follow science, so does she accept the science that proves consumption sites are not the solution to addiction?
Great question.
Monsieur le Président, comme mon collègue le sait déjà, je l'ai répété plusieurs fois, il n'y a pas une seule solution pour résoudre cette crise. Et c'est sûr, il y a différentes recherches qui montrent plusieurs résultats.
L'interprétation ne fonctionnait pas. Est-ce que...
The interpreter apologizes. The microphone was off. Interpretation is back. From the beginning again, please. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As I have told my colleagues several times, a number of different studies show different results on the matter of supervised consumption sites. And as my colleague knows, there is not one single solution to this question. Supervised consumption sites are there to save lives, which doesn't mean that we can't also have other kinds of treatment. Everything can be done at the same time.
Mr. Speaker, this is the first study in Canada to use individual-level linkable health data. That means for the first time, we can see exactly what happened to the people who use these sites. Every drug consumption site in Canada operates under an exemption granted by the federal health minister. So, if the research now says that closing a drug consumption site leads to more people getting life-saving treatment and no increase to deaths, why on earth is his minister still approving them?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My colleagues should know that the exemptions are when the provinces that fund the supervised consumption sites fund those projects after consultation with their own stakeholders. As I've said before, yes, we are saving lives with these sites, but also we are working hard on treatment. The Honourable Member for Montmorency Charlevoix. Mr. Speaker, this is another failed Liberal drug policy experiment. The Liberals promised that injection sites would reduce overdose deaths. But in BC, deaths have skyrocketed by 400%. And in Quebec, deaths have doubled. More than 50,000 Canadians are dead. And now a key study from Alberta shows that closing an overdose prevention site did not lead to an increase in deaths, and in fact, more people eventually sought treatment. How many Canadians have to die before Liberals finally put an end to this? Admit that they made a mistake, and finally take a different prevention-based approach. The Honourable Minister of Health. Mr. Speaker, it's very clear that we can walk and chew gum at the same time, which means that at the very same time that we can save lives through supervised injection sites, we can also offer treatment and prevention programs. What's very clear is that we are working in close cooperation with all of the provinces in order to reduce drug consumption rates. And all of the numbers on drug-related deaths have gone down in Canada. I would just like to remind the member that we need to address the colleagues through the chair.
East Steveston.
Mr. Speaker, in 2025, the Port of Vancouver had a record-breaking year for exports, moving more Canadian goods to global markets than ever before. This is a point of pride for my city, my constituents in Richmond East, Steveston, who help power this success every day through their work in trade, transportation, and port operations. Could the Minister of International Trade update this House on what this record-setting year at the Port of Vancouver means for Canadian workers and for Canada's growing trade opportunities?
Hear, hear. The Honourable Minister of International Trade.
Mr. Speaker, the member for Richmond, BC has been a tireless champion for the Port of Vancouver and its workers. We're talking about 170 million tons of cargo, the highest in the port's history. That's more exports to China, South Korea, Japan, the Middle East, and more. Non-U.S. exports up by 17% in 2025, and we aren't stopping there, Mr. Speaker. We are signing record number of trade agreements to open new opportunities for the workers that are producing world-class products to get products out the door. This is how we build Canada strong. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Ponoka Didsbury.
Mr. Speaker, yesterday the Liberals tried to clarify the rules behind their ridiculous gun grab scheme. Canadian soldiers deployed before the gun grab program started will return after the amnesty period ends. This means they have no opportunity to declare their firearms under this gun grab policy. Because of this, many Armed Forces members will return to Canada as criminals because the Liberals won't extend the amnesty period. This is very troubling. If the Liberals trust our deployed soldiers with the biggest guns we have, why on earth would they not trust them with their plinksters and turkey guns when they get home?
The Honourable Minister of Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, I want to thank the over 42,000 firearms that have been enrolled, Mr. Speaker, on the compensation program. Those correspond to individual law-abiding gun owners who are going to abide by the law, Mr. Speaker. The amnesty period, as you're aware, expires on October the 30th, and I look forward to ensuring that those law-abiding gun owners get the compensation that they deserve.
The Honourable Member for Vancouver East.
The Minister told a story about living within a lie in Davos and said the power of the less power starts with honesty. Former Liberal cabinet ministers Alan Rock and Lloyd Axworthy, who are honest with Canada's complicity in the killing of civilians, have come out publicly in support of Bill C-233. They said Parliament now faces a clear choice: maintain an outdated exemption that undermines Canada's credibility, or adopt a modern principle statement that reflects our commitments and responsibilities. Will the Prime Minister be honest with reality and vote yes to Bill C-233?
The Honourable Minister of Foreign Affairs.
Mr. Speaker, actually the government opposes this bill. Canada has one of the strongest export regimes in the world, with human rights considerations applied to every single permit issued for military goods. The changes proposed in this bill would decimate Canada's defence industry, would weaken Canada's role in NATO, and would jeopardize the capabilities of our Canadian Armed Forces. This bill does not close a loophole, Mr. Speaker. It creates new vulnerabilities. It is irresponsible to propose a bill like this.
I wish to draw the attention of members to the presence in the gallery of Mr. Dara Kaliri, Minister for Social Protection and for Rural and Community Development, and the Gaeltacht of Ireland. Okay.